help us ship the nuts out of Georgia. Help us ship the nuts out of Georgia. Such was the first slogan for the racially integrated Koinonia farm, the mail order catalog that they sold pecans and peanuts during the civil rights movement. See, prior to this decision to sell these pecans by mail order catalog, the KKK had rolled up through their farm with over 70 vehicles with men brandishing assault weapons. Then their roadside stand had been dynamited, and as a result of that unexpected occurrence, they discovered that their pecans tasted pretty good when fire roasted. What a way to discover a new product. See, out of the most expected of events, Koinonia got one of their top sellers to this very day. Sometimes it's the unexpected that gets our attention. See, in John chapter 2, there's a wedding at Cana. We read that the first of John's signs occurs on the third day of this wedding, which sounds like a pretty good party, right? Third day of a wedding. Man, why didn't we do that? God, if I can only have a time machine, go back 8 years. But if we only think about the party, we miss out on the unexpected that we hear about. And what John is trying to convey to us, it seems that important things will happen on the third day of Jesus' ministry and for the world, for us. I'm talking about the resurrection, okay? I mean, anybody? Okay, all right, good. Whew. The unexpected can be most clearly seen in where, who, and what happens next. As we think about the where this is, we have a physical where and a situational where. Physically, this is in Cana of Galilee. It's a Gentile land that is known for being a place full of thieves and robbers. It's one that Herod the Great has ridded of all the vagabonds at least twice during his reign. This is not where we would expect for a good Jew like Jesus to be, and yet it's no mistake that John puts this as the first of his 7 signs. This is a Jesus who has come to transcend racial differentiations. And it's a John who is unafraid to tell us about this unexpected place. But more than that, this episode is located in a situation that might be unexpected for us today. We love the stories that we may have just read during the Christmas season of the incarnation, but this occurs in the midst of everyday life. It's, okay, fine, maybe we're not getting married every day, but I mean, come on. Nobody of us goes to a wedding and doesn't know what's going to happen. We have 2 people. They're going to walk up to the front. They're hopefully both going to say, I do. And then we're going to go back and eat way too good of cake. It's a wedding. Unlike the incarnation that we celebrated at Christmas, there's no angelic choirs. There's no divine messengers coming telling us what is going to be soon. Instead, this is just Jesus in the mundane, the everyday. It's as if Jesus showed up to my church one Sunday and turned the church coffee into Starbucks Christmas blend. All of those coffee snobs in the room, drinkers, in the room know what I'm talking about. There's a difference between church coffee and Starbucks Christmas blend. Jesus uses the traditional jars for the rites of purification that have been used 100 times before, that have probably gotten stuck in the corner at least 100 times. You pull them out when you need them, and you just shove them back in the corner. They're not something that you necessarily need all day, every day. If we could guess the vessels that Jesus would use to accomplish this first sign, these would be most unexpected. And equally unexpected would be who is involved in this stage. From the beginning of this passage, we're told that Jesus' mom is present. Hi, Mom. I've always wanted to do that. This is great. We don't know her as Mary in John's Gospel, just as Jesus' mom. See, in John's Gospel, she only shows up here and at the cross, giving us a hint as to what this sign might be pointing to. And she is called woman. Woman. Helps us to hear Jesus' reference to her as indicative of Eve, with Jesus as the second Adam. At the same time in this story, she is the first to come to Jesus. She is the first to say, there's no more wine? You know who might be able to help? I think I know just the guy. It seems like Jesus would be a pretty good person to notify in this particular situation. Of course, I wouldn't recommend Jesus' response of what concern is that to me for fear of becoming especially acquainted with the backside of your mother's hand. But she, Eve, Jesus' mom, woman, she is faithful to the very brim. She ignores that question and she tells the diakonos, the servants, to do whatever it is that he tells them to do. She believes in Jesus before he performs the sign. And she is a woman, how unexpected for Jewish first century Palestine. After being told to fill the purification jars again, a task that must have been frustrating, as I'm sure that 20 or 30 gallons in stone jars, it must have weighed a significant amount. The servants, they stand back and watch. And they're the first to know. They are the first to know. The servants are the first to know what has transpired. The chief steward doesn't know. As the wedding planner, he must have been praying for a miracle, so his reaction is expected. He wants to know where this came from because, golly, can we get some more? We already ran out of wine once. I might need to come back to you and figure out how to get this going again. But instead, it's the lowly servants who are the first insiders. Those who are unnamed in this text seem to know and understand the most in this text. Maybe for us today, jostling for social and ministerial positions, we have to remember to seek to understand God from the most unexpected of persons. Whose names is it that we never learn in our society? Is it the people that we pay at the gas station? What of the person who brings us our chips and salsa at the Mexican restaurant that we're about to all go and enjoy here for lunch? Or maybe the person who's stocking the shelves at Walmart when we're making a run to get apples, because where else can you get apples at midnight on a Tuesday? I mean, not that that's personal experience. I'm worried that the way that we grow up teaches us to ignore these people, the invisible unexpecteds. But more than aware or who, this is also a story of an unexpected what. As we read, we find Jesus going to this wedding, celebrating his heart out for 3 whole days, helping to share drink his share of the celebratory wine, then finding himself in the same predicament as his mother and as the rest of his guests. He isn't left out of being out of wine. However, rather than snapping his fingers and doing for the people before they even have need, Jesus waits. Jesus waits. He sits down in his recliner, he puts his feet up, he pops some Cheetos in his mouth, and he waits. His time hasn't come yet, but the people, they need to know this. In John's gospel, Jesus needs to say it. And as such, this is an occasion where Jesus waits to be asked for help so that he can then teach some deeper truths. In the meanwhile, the mundane, the everyday, the unexpected occurs. We get between 120 and 180 gallons of wine. Now, I'm not sure what the wine rules are in your house, and maybe you're underage, so that's a different conversation. But I measure my wine consumption in glasses, and sometimes if there's a lot of people, bottles, not gallons. This gallon jug right here, it would hold over 5 bottles of wine. 5 bottles of wine in 1 gallon. And Jesus made the good stuff. He made the Dom Perignon Champagne 2004. And he made 120 to 180 gallons of this stuff. If we were to translate that to today's money, that would be over $100,000 worth of wine just in 1 jar. Do you understand the superabundance that's happening here? This isn't just enough to fill a human need. It's enough to make a statement. It's a statement that won't be completed until the most unexpected of places, the cross. With Jesus being offered sour wine, vinegar. Do you remember the story? See, no matter what, we end up at the cross. For all of the unexpected where, who, and what, and the completely untold how. I don't know how Jesus does it. But we still do well to pay attention to the nature of this sign. It's impractical, but it points outside of itself. It is incarnational, but it also reveals transcendence. It is immediate, but has been foreshadowed in the grace upon the grace that John 1:16 tells us that we will receive. Some might say it smacks of impropriety, especially maybe my Baptist brothers and sisters, but it points to the joy of the community that is outside the doors still celebrating. completely oblivious as to what has transpired inside. So who are you in this story? Are you the nameless servant who is able to see Jesus, but you still feel nameless? Are you the chief steward running around always trying to solve your problems, going from here to there and realizing that you maybe didn't plan something well enough when the situation maybe has an unexpected solution? Are you the jar? Are you ready to be filled up to the brim by the superabundance of God? Are you the mother of Jesus, so full of faith even after all of these years of changing his first century diapers? Or are you the crowd outside, completely unaware of the unexpected signs that are occurring in the midst of everyday life? May we be the people of God who pay attention to where, in whom, and what unexpected things God is doing. Even if it means that we end up selling fire-roasted pecans out of mail-order catalogs as a result of roadside fruit stands and our plans being dynamited. And all of God's people said, Amen.